Python, Ruby, Haskell, do they provide true multithreading? We are planning to write a highly concurrent application in any of the very high-level programming languages. 1. Do Python, Ruby, or Haskell support true multithreading? 2. If a program contains threads, will a virtual machine automatically assign work to multiple cores, or to physical CPUs if there is more than one CPU on the mainboard? True multithreading equals multiple independent threads of execution utilize the resources provided by multiple cores, not by only one core. False multithreading equals threads emulate multi-threaded environments without relying on any native OS capabilities.
One. Do Python, Ruby, or Haskell support true multithreading?
This has nothing to do with the language.
It is a question of the hardware. If the machine only has one CPU, it is simply physically impossible to execute two instructions at the same time. The operating system, again, if the OS doesn't support true multithreading, there is nothing you can do, and the language implementation, execution engine. Unless the language specification explicitly forbids or enforces true multithreading, this has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the language. All the languages that you mention, plus all the languages that have been mentioned in the answers so far, have multiple implementations, some of which support true multithreading, some don't, and some are built on top of other execution engines which might or might not support true multithreading.
Take Ruby, for example. Here are just some of its implementations and their threading models.
MRI, green threads, no true multithreading. YARV, OS threads, no true multithreading. Rubinius, OS threads, true multithreading. MacRuby, OS threads, true multithreading. Druby, Zruby, JVM threads, depends on the JVM. If the JVM supports true multithreading, then Druby/Ruby does, too. If the JVM doesn't, then there's nothing they can do about it. Iron Ruby, Ruby.net, just like Druby, Zruby, but on the CLI instead of on the JVM. See also my answer to another similar question about Ruby. Note that answer is more than a year old, and some of it is no longer accurate. Rubinius, for example, uses truly concurrent native threads now, instead of truly concurrent green threads. Also, since then, several new Ruby implementations have emerged, such as Blue Ruby, Tinier, Ruby Golightly, Red Sun and Small Ruby.
Similar for Python.
Python, native threads, no true multithreading. PyPy, native threads, depends on the execution engine. PyPy can run natively, or on top of a JVM, or on top of a CLI, or on top of another Python execution engine. Whenever the underlying platform supports true multithreading, PyPy does, too. Unladen Swallow, native threads, currently no true multithreading, but fix is planned. Jython, JVM threads, C Druby. Iron Python, CLI threads, C Iron, Ruby. For Haskell, at least the glorious Glasgow Haskell compiler supports true multi-threading with native threads. I don't know about UHC, LHC, JHC, YHC, Hugs or all the others. For Erlang, both Beam and HiPE support true multi-threading with green threads. 2. If a program contains threads, will a virtual machine automatically assign work to multiple cores, or to physical CPUs if there is more than one CPU on the mainboard? Again, this depends on the virtual machine, the operating system and the hardware. Also, some of the implementations mentioned above don't even have virtual machines.
The Haskell implementation, GHC, supports multiple mechanisms for parallel execution on shared memory multicore. These mechanisms are described in runtime support for multicore Haskell. The runtime schedules work to be executed on separate cores, migrates work, and load balancers. The garbage collector is also a parallel one, using each core to collect part of the heap. Unlike Python or Ruby, there's no global interpreter lock, so for that, and other reasons, GHC is particularly good on multi-core in comparison, for example Haskell v Python on the multi-core shootout.
The GHC compiler will run your program on multiple OS threads, and thus multiple cores, if you compile with the threaded option and then pass, plus RTS in, x, RTS, at runtime, where, x, equals the number of OS threads you want.
The current version of Ruby 1.9 YARV-C base version has native threads but has the problem of GIL. As I know Python also has the problem of GIL. However, both Jython and Ruby mature Java implementations of both Ruby and Python provide native multithreading, no green threads and no GIL. Don't know about Haskell.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.